Hi, Wendy.
Hey,
So we wanted to catch up with you because you had some great news. You got a graduate job offer with Admiral recently.
that's
You're,
great. Yeah.
it is great because we've known each other for a long time now,
Yeah.
and yours has not been a straight journey. And really, what I wanted to do is just kind of understand what your experience was like. So, before you joined us. So before you kind of found us, because you found us when we were quite young. I think I hadn't even been in business for a year then. I mean, what was your experience like coming to the UK looking for a job? How had it been for you?
Before I started my master's, I had the exchange program and I like to learn and I know or I like to land a job and live in the UK at least for a few years. So, but I always know it's hard. And it's really hard. After I started my master's program, the projects and all the workload starting to pile up. And I feel like, oh, I don't know how to manage to apply for jobs at the same time while there's career coach in the uni, but it's not really helpful in the way that helps me. How to say? Because you can always approach them when you have a question or you have something else and book a time slot. But what I need is something easier or accountability. So that's why. And I just came across your YouTube and I think,
Oh,
oh,
right. Hey, it's that guy from the YouTube. Yeah, because like you've been with us, I think you've been with us over a year now. Yeah. And because I can always remember, I think it was sort of like Christmas, New Year
yeah,
that you got in
because
touch.
last time is the time that I feel like, oh shit, yeah. October, start occasionally apply for jobs, and I feel like I would need someone else. But then I feel like, maybe I do need someone else.
I mean, it's difficult to find the time, but also if you don't really know what you're doing
Yeah,
and then you've got loads of other stuff going on,
it is very overwhelming.
it's very overwhelming because you sort of get to the end of the day, you've had your whole day, lessons, coursework, friends, you're going out, you're playing badminton, all the stuff because you've got a really active life. And it's like, oh, I need to look for a job. It's like, no, actually, I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to go to sleep. I'll
And
just do it tomorrow.
sometimes I can do the work, but I don't know what to do. It's like, oh, so what do I do now? Is like, someone say, oh, networking is important. Should I do networking? Should I reach out to alumni or what should I do now? Or just apply straight away or whatever. Just a lot of every action that I don't know how to do. Even the simple self-introduction, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. And it's made even worse by the fact that you already don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So then you go down all these rabbit holes, like messaging loads of people on LinkedIn, speaking to alumni, like asking random people. You just kind of make it up as you go along. And you're just like, right, I really have got no idea what I'm doing. This is driving me mental. And that's pretty normal because then you joined up with us and what was like how was it initially? What was your experience? Was it helpful, not helpful? Like just walk us through because obviously the first sort of couple of months we tend to work pretty closely together. So how was that for you?
That was scary. No,
It was terrible. Make it stop. Yeah.
it's okay. Because I still remember the first one is a kind of assessment. It's an assessment around what my skills are. It's like, oh, okay, let's do a mock interview now. Okay, I haven't learned anything yet, but let's do it. So I do self-introduction. I can't speak a word. I can't even say my name is what. And the first few sessions, so based on that assessment and like case study, presentation, whatever, I just, oh, okay, I got a lot of areas to work on. And then, well, and I don't need to take care about the lessons or time schedule. It's just, okay, today you do this, tomorrow you do that, and then in a few days come back with me doing something else. It's a manageable by chunk things. And in the beginning, it's really fun.
Yeah, it was you were so shy. Like you were kind of, but you were very I can always remember like you were quite quirky. And I think sometimes the difficulty is it takes time to warm up. So in an interview, you're kind of expected just to be on. Like it's like, right, I'm on, let's go. And if it takes you a little bit of time to warm up, I'm the same. So say, for example, if I go and meet a load of new people, someone will just walk into a room and just be all over it. But for me, like I take a little bit of time to get started. And then once I feel confident and okay, I'm like, hi, how you doing? And it's by going through that process. And I know there was we like to do lots of different things that sort of make you feel a bit uncomfortable, essentially push you outside of your comfort zone. So then slowly, because then you get to the end of it and you're like, that was actually okay. I didn't explode into a ball of flames. Because then because I know that you sort of had your exams and you had your dissertation. So there was like working with anybody who's a graduate, there's going to be periods of time when schoolwork is really pressing and you can't really sort of devote your time to looking for a job, particularly sort of around about this time, I suppose, sort of like March, April, May, June. And then you came back to us, but you had a lot of,
Another thing is because you give me the job role, the opportunities that I can apply for, and you say, okay, this week just apply for these two at the beginning. That okay, and actually in my mind at that time, I feel like, oh, can I apply for Big Four? Can I apply for Accenture? Can I apply for Capgemini? Is that because as a international, I feel like if I'm going to apply for a job here, I might not be able to compete with the top others. So should I just go for something I don't know about or whatever? But that's another thing that gives me confidence, or just even without confidence, you just apply for, and then you feel like, oh, you get through this, get through online test, get through video interview and to the assessment center. It's still all possible. Whereas if I am applying jobs for myself, I will think why I would apply for a place that I don't think I would get it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that level of expectation, because it's just like going to a coach or a teacher or just somebody who's had a lot of experience with other people. Like if you went to, a lot of my analogies revolve around sports and like sports coaching. It's like going to a coach. You want to be a track and field star, you want to sprint 100 meters, and then the coach will assess you, will watch your progression, and then you'll be like, I'm ready to compete. But you don't know that. Only the coach knows, because they have had all that experience of seeing other people that they've coached, and they'll be like, yeah, you're ready, you're not ready, you're close, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think that is quite a big thing in the process, is knowing what you need, getting feedback and knowing what you need to do. And in fact, in my own experience of having a coach, working with peers, that's actually the most valuable thing. Somebody on hand who can give me feedback, give me advice, run through stuff with me. And I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Because it just saves so much time in the long run.
Save so much unnecessary procrastination and worries.
Yeah, because that was always the big thing. I mean, you highlighted a couple of things that we do. There's lots of different stuff that we do for clients, but one thing that we do is we always source vacancies that we think are winnable out of, because there'll be hundreds every week, which is quite confusing. And the other thing that we do is that if, once we have a session together, or if you had a session, say with Jazz, then you'd get to the end and it'd be like, so what do I need to do? And we'd say like, right, by the time you see us next, you need to do A, B, C. So you go away and you've got your homework. Yeah, so you can already in your mind, you're like, oh, I've got to fit this in here, here, and here. Or go like, right, okay, so you need to work on this. And then you've got somebody on hand when you have questions that you can kind of go, oh, I'm just wondering, should I do this? A lot of times that was a lot of the questions that we get asked. It's like, should I do this or that? It's like, oh, we do that. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And all the time it just sort of takes the stress out of what is still, it's a hard process, right? It's still stressful. No one can completely remove that, but you can make it as easy as possible for the person going through it.
And the faith.
The faith, yeah, because you had a lot. I mean, you had a ton of close calls, because after a while, once you had you knew what to do. So once we trained you, it wasn't difficult for you to get applications in, to pass online tests, to get interviews was kind of, you just expected it. But you had a couple of close calls. So you had a couple of how many assessment centers did you end up going to?
EG group. I think I'll get that one just because of this. And Deutsche Bank, SSE, and like Boots.
Yeah, like you had quite a few. I think there were one or two offers that you just missed out on because of the visa issue. I mean, even with Admiral, who you've got a job with now, because originally you got very close, but that role wasn't sponsored. And then they're like, oh, but do you need a visa? And you're like, hello, yeah, like of course I need a visa. And they're like, oh no, we can't do that. And then here you are coming back around to it, because some roles aren't sponsored and some roles are. There are so many little fiddly bits with working in the UK that people don't really know about. So say, well, they're on the sponsorship list, so they sponsor for every role, and it's like sometimes they don't, and they don't advertise that as well. What I'd be really curious to know is, you had a ton of experience looking for jobs, you know, the ups and the downs. For anyone who's watching this, who's in a similar situation to you, have you got some good advice, some good tips, some lessons that you wish you'd known when you started?
Wish to know. Another thing that helped me keep doing it is to show up. Like, don't overwhelm, just like what you said, just don't overwhelm yourself. And then every week or every day, put in a bit of your time and effort, send the result out. Like, don't just searching online, that won't help. Like, put the application in, and do the video interviews that you need to do in a minimum way. And other times you can do whatever you want to do, what you like to do, to keep your daily routine and life structure, which will support you to face the failure, or just to that thing is minimum enough that will not affect your life or affect your well-being, that you think, oh, because when you put that every day, every minute, like 24 hours, 7 days a week in applying for jobs or in this kind of area, I feel like if I got rejections or constantly rejected, then I will feel, oh, this is not for me, and other life also falling apart. So keep other pillars still standing. It's important for me.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring it up. Burnout is really common. And I know that you had a few instances of that where you just basically feel fried. Like you feel like you're really having to force yourself. And the worst thing about burnout is, particularly if you're like a type A personality, you get stuff done, you're very ambitious, then you just keep pushing against this resistance, which essentially is your body and also your mind saying, like, we need a break. And I can remember a couple of times when I can distinctly remember like a period when you were finding it really difficult. And I was like, dude, have a break. And you're like, oh yeah, but what should I do? I was like, go and watch some anime. Like, go and watch some anime and eat noodles and just chill out. Like, you just need a break. Because the thing was, you know, once that, and I think like a weekend turned into like 2 weeks. But when you return from that, you're like, man, I feel so much better. Like, I feel better than I felt in months, because sometimes we just need that. And it can be important. Like, yeah, it's important to get a job, but also like you do have time. And if you're just constantly like, it feels like you're always pushing it uphill and doing the minimum as well, what was always really important. And I've spoken to so many clients about this. I'm like, what can you do? Like, what's one thing that you can do today? What's the bare minimum that you can do? So you feel like you've got momentum and you're kind of getting that streak going, but also that you're not, driving yourself mental. No one could, like some people be like, oh, I spend 4 hours a day looking for a job. That's not going to last.
Yeah.
Like it's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. Sustainable. That's what that momentum sustainable. That's what I didn't think of that finding a job would look like this. I thought it was just a 1 month intensely finding like applying, and interviewing and done. But
Mm.
I didn't think that would be a marathon. And by being running a marathon means you need to pace yourself. And I think I find my pace in the end.
It is a marathon. And I think even when I've had clients who can dedicate all their time, focus, and attention on finding a job, it still takes 3 months. And with you, it took over a year. But what was important for us was that when you joined us, and we've always had that point of view, like we're not going to leave, because otherwise everything else is great, but ultimately we're here to get a client a result. Um, and we just kept the faith, because a lot of times as well, we'd have a call and, we'd do some stuff, look at some applications or whatever. But actually my main job was just to go like, just keep going. Like it's coming. I can feel it. You're very close. Because also as a coach, again, to go back to the sports analogy, it's like you keep running 100-meter races and you have bad starts, you trip at 60 meters, you keep coming third or fourth, but as your coach, I can see it. I'm like, you are good enough to win. It's just not your time yet. So it's like, just keep going, keep going. And then, obviously you got the result that you wanted, and all that hard work sort of paid off. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess just finally, just as a little, of course, little sales plug, what would you say to anybody who's thinking about coming to us or getting some sort of coaching or help?
If you really want to land a job in UK and you find it frustrating, why not? I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just like worth it.
Well, look, thank you, Wendy, and thank you for sharing your experience with us, and good luck starting at Admiral next month.
Hey.